The text that I chose for my N.E.W.T project was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The reason why I chose this is because throughout the series, this is one of my favorites. When it comes to thinking of how to determine which one's my favorite, this one stuck out to me because Harry learned to become a leader and to stick up for himself. When I mentioned sticking up for himself, what I immediately thought of was the way he learned to deal with himself when it became with Professor Umbridge and Professor Snape. With Professor Umbridge, Harry went through unruly punishment when he got in trouble that has not been seen until this point of time in the book. Where with Professor Snape, he was going through lessons where he had to learn to close his mind, and when Professor Snape would look into his mind, he was seeing dreams that he didn't want anybody to know about. In this book, the 3 traumas that stuck out to me the most were reader response theory, psychological criticism, and trauma theory. When thinking about reader response theory, I thought about that you have to learn to stick up for yourself. Where in nowadays, when you look everywhere, you have to know how to stick up for yourself, or people are just going to walk right over you. The example that I thought of this was what I was just talking about with Professor Snape, where Harry wasn't figuring out how to close his mind to him, so Professor Snape was just looking into all of his thoughts, was telling him that he needs to work harder, and that's what a lot of people go through nowadays. You have to work harder, and people are telling you you're not good enough, and where that's not necessarily true. You just need to learn how to work on it in a different way. But what I also thought about when thinking about reader response theory is believing in yourself. Many a times Harry had visions, and sometimes he would doubt himself. But deep within, he knew he was right. Where an example for this is when he saw a vision about Mr. Weasley getting attacked. He wasn't sure on if he was actually seeing it, if it was really real. So he told someone, and just by believing enough to be able to tell someone that, hey, I saw this, someone needs to check it out, he ended up saving his life. Where if he wouldn't have done anything, who knows where the story would have gone, if he would have made it. And then when you think of that, how would that affect the rest of the book? Would there really be a father for Ron and the rest of the Weasleys? The next theory that I thought of after reading this book was the trauma theory. It happened quite a bit throughout Order of the Phoenix, but the example that really stuck out to me was when Harry lost his godfather. It happened all of a sudden. He wasn't expecting it, and he didn't believe it at first. He was like, he's just behind it. And he kept trying to go, but Lupin just kept holding him back. It's like, he's gone, he's not coming back. And Harry didn't want to believe him. With trauma, it could happen with anyone, not just a main character. You may be walking by someone, they have trauma going in their life. So when it comes to losing a loved one, it really hits you hard and you don't really know what to do when it happens. The last theory that I want to talk about with Order of the Phoenix is the psychological criticism. With this, what I thought of was when they were trying to isolate Sirius and not let him out of the house. When you're not letting someone go somewhere, it can really affect a person. It makes them think, am I really, what do I do if I can't go? And it makes them feel like people don't want them around. It really takes a toll on someone's thought. After learning about all the theories, it makes me look at books that I've read and see them from a different point of view. And it's just, when you think about it, you don't really realize what the author's trying to get through until you've learned about it all. So I believe this class has really helped me with just looking at a different perspective for books.